位观众，晚上好，欢迎来到 NACP 北美华人医师联盟。本次的医学科普系列讲座，本次的 topic 是 The Science of Happiness。我们的主讲嘉宾是 Dr. Catherine 曹，是在 Virginia Birch Neurology 做 neurologist。然后我是本次讲座的主持人，我叫任若迪，我是一位临床药师。在讲座开始之前呢，我想先简要的介绍一下北美华人医师联盟，ANACP 是2016年成立的非营利组织，ANACP 是以服务联盟会员为宗旨，积极提升北美华人医生在社区和国际交流中的推动作用。联盟的 mission 是通过推广教育、交流知识，帮助大华人医生提高医学服务水平，提升医生的个人生活品质。联盟也曾多次组织和参与捐赠、科普及义诊活动，帮助华人医生和医学生进入美国医疗体系。联盟的 value 是 care，C-A-R-E，就是 communication, advocacy, respect and excellence。讲座开始之前，我们要强调一下，本次讲座是纯公益讲座，如无特殊说明，讲座嘉宾和主持人均无商业意图和任何利益冲突。同时呢，本次的讲座只是分享个人经验和心得，医生呢是不会去做具体病人的诊疗推荐的。好，然后下面我们来介绍一下本次的嘉宾 Dr. 曹 Catherine 曹是 neurologist，然后目前是在 Virginia Beach 医院工作。She received her medical degree from Beijing Medical University and completed her neurology residency and fellowship training in University of Cincinnati Medical Center. She has been in practice for more than 20 years and has expertise in treating dementia, Alzheimer's dementias, Parkinson's disease, and all other conditions. 好，那下面我们就把时间交给 Dr. 曹，开始他的这个讲座《The Science of Happiness》。
好，谢谢主持人的邀请。好，Good evening, everyone. Today I'd like to share with you an important topic, the science of happiness. See here how to. The happiness is defined as a sustained state of emotional and mental health, emotional mental well-being that encompasses life satisfaction, contentment, and joy. Happiness is something we all seek, yet many struggle to find. At the present time, the statistics shows that our collective emotional health is in crisis. In the United States, about 9% of Americans report being very dissatisfied with their lives. And among culture group, Asians and Asian Americans reported lower level of well-being compared to European and European Americans. On college campuses, 40% of college students reported depression and anxiety, and about 13% of students have experienced the suicidal ideation. Most alarmingly, the suicide has become the 11th leading cause of the death in the United States. The second leading cause among younger people aged 10 to 34, with one suicidal death occurring every 11 minutes, which means before I completed this speech, there were 2 to 3 people have committed suicide. Because this crisis, the study of happiness has become a global priority. There is a world database of happiness, an annual world happiness report tracking the global trends, and research organizations such as Erasmus Happiness Economic Research Organization in Europe, Happiness Research Institution in Denmark have focused on study of the happiness. In the United States, many top academic institutions such as Harvard, Columbia, UC Berkeley, UCLA have all established centers specialized on study of the science of the happiness. The institutional focus has been matched by government interest. Several nations have included happiness as their policy considerations. Bhutan implemented the Gross National Happiness Index. Arab appointed a Minister of Happiness. New Zealand implemented a well-being budget, prioritized the well-being. Even the United Nations has recognized the importance of happiness. It established the International Day of the Happiness on March 20th. Even the United Nations, the business world also take notice. Companies like Google, Microsoft, Zappos have implemented chief happiness officers or well-being programs. Research from the University of Warwick showed that happy employees are approximately 12% more productive than their counterparts. The science of happiness is still in its infancy. There are several key brain regions that are involved in the emotional regulation. The prefrontal cortex involved in complex decision-making and the personality expression. It plays an important role in regulation our emotional response. And this region is particularly associated with the experience of meaning and purpose. When people engage in meaningful activities, this region becomes active. The anterior cingulate cortex help regulate emotions and acts as a bridge between our thinking and the feeling function. This region is important for emotional regulation and our ability to manage difficult feelings. The amygdala is our emotional process center, manages immediate emotional reactions, especially fear and pleasure responses. Happier individuals tend to have more robust connections between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, suggests that they have better integration between emotion reactions and the rational feelings and the rational thinkings. The hippocampus involved in memory formation and also play a significant role in emotional regulation and the stress response. Chronic stress can actively shrinking the hippocampus, while positive emotional status such and meditation practice have been shown to preserve or even increase the size of the hippocampus. The complex neural function is regulated by the neurotransmitters. And dopamine is the reward chemical. It motivates us towards goal and provides the pleasure of achievement. Serotonin is a mood stabilizer, regulates emotions, appetite, and sleep. We all know that the low serotonin levels are associated with depression and anxiety. Activities like sunlight exposure, exercise, and certain dietary choices increase the dopamine level, increase the serotonin level. Tryptophan is a precursor of serotonin. The food rich in tryptophan, such as salmon, eggs, and the nuts, increase the serotonin level. And the food containing B12, B6, and the folate also increase the serotonin level. Endorphin is our natural pain reliever and released during the physical exertion, laughter, and social bonding. And this chemical creates something called runner's high. This explains that when people doing exercise regularly, they tend to have better mood and less anxiety. Oxytocin is a bonding hormone. It's released during positive social interactions, physical touch, and acts of kindness. It promotes feelings of trust and connection. The benefit of happiness extends beyond just feeling good. It protects our body and mind. And happy people tend to have lower blood pressure and lower heart rate and reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, cancer, and infection. It also enhances the immune system. There's a meta-analysis of 35 studies found that optimism and positive emotion were associated with approximately 35% reduction in cardiovascular event and 14% reduction in mortality. Study also showed that the positive emotion states trigger the release of anti-inflammatory compounds and enhance immune cell function. Research at Carnegie Mellon University found that people with more positive emotions had greater resistance to the common cold when they were exposed to cold virus. Mentally, happiness also reduce anxiety and depression and enhance creativity and cognitive function. And positive emotions expand our awareness and thinking patterns. When we are happy, we think more flexibly, we solve problems more creatively, and also we consider a wider range of possibilities. The study in professional settings show that employees experience positive emotions are more productive, more creative, and more collaborative with their colleagues. And happiness also, happy people also live about 7 to 10 years longer. According to the research at University of California, happiness has a ripple effect. Happiness can spread through the social networks and affect the individuals to a 3-degree separation, means that besides the family, close friends, the happiness also can affect friends, and the neighbors. And the happiness is more contagious than the sadness. So what actually determined the happiness? The study showed that 50% of our happiness is determined by the internal state of mind and the intentional activities that we engage. This includes our thoughts, beliefs, habits, and the daily practice. This is the aspects that we have the most control over. About 30 to 40% of happiness come from our genetic predisposition. Yes, there are happiness genes, including 5-HTTLPR and the near HR2A. They regulate the serotonin production, and the COMT gene regulate the dopamine production. There were twin studies that have conducted compare identical twins raised apart from different life circumstances. The study found they have a similar happiness level, which says that there is a genetic foundation. However, study also show that even genetic predisposition can be modified through lifestyle choices. Only 10% of only 10% happiness come from life circumstances, and a mere 3% happiness come from social economic factors and education. There is a fascinating study conducted by the Northwestern University. It compared 22 major lottery winners with 29 accident victims who became paralyzed. Remarkably, after initial 6 months of adjustment period, researchers found that there are no significant difference in the happiness level between the groups. And this demonstrates that external circumstances have a very limited long-term impact on the happiness. And our humans have a remarkable capacity to adapt to the changes in life. The ability to adapt to changes is called the adaptation principle. For example, if we buy a new car, a new phone, the excitement of new device that typically fade within a few weeks or months, and then as it becomes our new normal. However, now that all the experiences are equally subject to adaptation. Research suggests that material possessions trigger the adaptation much more quickly than experiences. And the joy and excitement from a vacation or concert create much longer lasting happiness. Certain negative experiences also show less adaptation. Chronic pain or toxic relationship create ongoing negative experiences. Sometimes even after the relationship ended, the negative emotional effects still persist for a very long time. Conversely, positive relationship and meaningful work provide sustained satisfaction. So what actually sustained happiness over time? Research have identified several key pillars. The first is the faith, religion, and the spirituality. Studies consistently show that people with faith, either through the religions or some form of spiritual practice, tend to report a higher level of happiness. And these traditions also provide a sense of connection to something greater than themselves. The practice like meditation and prayer help manage difficult emotions, and the community also provides support. The relationship between faith and happiness have been extensively documented. There is a meta-analysis of 147 studies found that the greater religiousness and spirituality was associated with fewer depression, some depressive symptoms, lower anxiety, and greater well-being, and the higher purpose of life. And this benefit appear across major religions. And the Buddhist and Hinduist posit happiness is our natural state of being, and happiness is an inherent quality that is always present. By practicing letting go of the attachment to the external factors such as the possessions, achievement, outcomes, and turning inward, quiet the mind, and one would find the peace and happiness within. This leads to the next pillar, meaning and purpose. Finding meaning and purpose significantly increase the happiness and well-being. Having a sense that your life matters and you are contributing to something larger than yourself provide a deep sense of fulfillment. Meaning give us directions and courage to persevere through the challenges. Psychologist Viktor Frankl, who survived the Nazi concentration camp, observed that Prisoners who maintained a sense of purpose, however small, had significant better odds of survival. His work demonstrated that meaning can sustain people through even the most extreme suffering. Studies indicate that people with strong sense of purpose show numerous health benefits, including reduced inflammatory markers, better immune function, and even structural difference in the brain regions associated with emotional regulation. There is a landmark study found that having a purpose in life was associated with a 15% of lower risk of death over a 14-year follow-up period. The third pillar might be the most beautiful, loving kindness and giving. Research consistently shows that people are happier when they express love and compassion towards others. Research consistently and acts of love, kindness trigger the release of endorphin, serotonin, and oxytocin, create what researchers sometimes call a helper's high. And this phenomenon has been demonstrated in several studies. Researchers at University of British Columbia found that participants who spend money on others experience greater happiness than those who spend money on themselves, regardless of the amount spent. Similarly, experiments have shown that performing 5 random acts of kindness in a single day produce a significant happiness boost that can last for weeks. Functional MRI studies show that altruistic behavior, meaning selfless, compassionate behaviors, activate reward pathway in the brain similar to those triggered by food or sex. Loving kindness meditation is a practice focused on cultivating unconditional love for oneself and others. Regular practitioners demonstrated increased positive emotions, reduced depression, and greater life satisfaction, and also showed a phenomenon called telomere lengthening. So telomere is a protective cap located at the end of a chromosome. As a person ages, the telomere becomes shorter and shorter. That increases the risk of age-related diseases such as neurodegenerative condition, cardiovascular disease, even cancer. The people who practice loving kindness meditations actually show that their telomere elongated, suggests that there's a reduced aging. The kindness is also contagious. Witness others' kind act increase our own likelihood of acting generously, and the kindness can spread through the social network. This brings us to the gratitude. In one gratitude study, participants were divided into 3 different groups. One wrote about the things they are grateful for each week. Another documented the things that displeased them. And the third group recorded a neutral event. After 3 weeks, the gratitude group reported a significant increased happiness level that lasted up to 10 weeks. Our humans have a natural negativity bias, meaning we tend to focus and dwelling on the problems and difficulties. The power of gratitude is to redirect our attention, and the gratitude practice intentionally focuses on attention on the positive aspect of experiences. In another word, counting our blessings. The neurological impacts of gratitude are significant. Regular gratitude practice has been shown to increase activity in medial frontal cortex, which is the brain region associated with the learning and decision making. It also reduces activities in the amygdala, decrease anxiety and stress response. And gratitude intervention also produce measurable effect on heart rate variability, which is an indicator of cardiovascular health. To practice gratitude, meaning that we also need to look for the positive aspect or potential benefits even from negative experiences, find the meaning and purpose in challenging situations. Appreciate everything, everyone, and every moment, even the challenged ones. Dalai Lama once said, happiness is not to get what you want, but to want what you have. The next pillar is the relationships. Harvard University did a 87 years long longitudinal study on health and happiness. It began in 1938. It enrolled 268 Harvard College students and 458 disadvantaged inner city youth in Boston. The study followed the participants throughout their lifespan, collecting health records, interviews, and surveys. And the study found that the single most important predictor of happiness and health was quality of meaningful relationship. There is no difference between Harvard students and the inner city participants. Education, social economic status, and the success are not important factors. Meaningful connections help us feel supported and loved, while improve our resilience to stress. And the meaningful relationship trigger oxytocin release, promoting feeling and trust and bonding that can buffer against life difficulties. The quality of relationship matters more than quantity. Having a few deep, authentic connections provide greater benefit than many superficial ones. The health impact of social connection are remarkable. Strong relationships reduce the risk of premature death by 50%, comparable to quitting smoking and exceeding the benefits of exercise and maintaining health weight. Conversely, chronic loneliness increases inflammation markers, compromise the immune system, and contribute to numerous health problems. Finally, there's engagement. Engagement can come through enjoyable activities, social connection, creative pursuit, and physical exercise, or immersion in nature. Flow state is also known as being in the zone. It's a mental state of deep absorption and enjoyment in an activity. In flow state, one is completely absorbed in the present moment. The time perception alters, self-consciousness disappears, and the mind chatter stops, worry and fear subsides. It creates a lasting sense of peace, fulfillment, and happiness. Research indicate that people who regularly experience flow states reports a higher life satisfaction and show greater work productivity. Now, I'm going to talk about the happiness blockers. There are three major barriers that block the happiness. First is the perfectionism. Perfectionism set impossible standards that guarantee the disappointment. Perfectionists often experience conditional self-worth. They believe that they're only valuable if they're perfect. Social comparisons, especially in our social media era, keep us focused on what others have and what we lack. Humans naturally gauge our standings through the comparison. Social media has intensified this tendency. The studies show that the social media use significantly increase our social comparison and reduce well-being. One experiment found that limiting social media use to 30 minutes daily lead to significant reduction in loneliness and depression after just 3 weeks. The last one is materialism. Materialism directs our attention towards external acquisitions that only provide temporary pleasures, but no lasting effect. The numerous studies confirm that the focus on wealth, possessions, and imaging correlated with lower life satisfaction, more depression, anxiety, and reduced well-being. Earlier, I mentioned that Asians and Asian Americans have lower well-being. This is primarily due to our culture and upbringing. Our culture emphasizes on achievement, promoting competitiveness, and discourage enjoyment and suppress personal emotions. And our tiger mom type of parenting tend to over-criticize and set unrealistic expectations for children that lead to children feeling of never being good enough and cause low self-esteem, and which can seriously affect their emotional and mental well-being. The negative effect can last for the rest of their lives. Those children, when they grow up, they may be successfully career-wise, however, often they're unhappy. The understanding of happiness has profound implications for how we raise our children. We should attend their emotional well-being, avoid comparison, offer encouragement, and let them know that they're loved and accepted unconditionally, regardless of their grades and academic performance. We need to foster their belief of I am worthy of love. Teaching them that money and external success won't bring lasting happiness, and we need to help them develop the internal resource for lifelong well-being. We must cultivate their capacity to love, to give, and appreciate. These are the known factors that produce sustainable happiness. The research on attachment demonstrates that secure emotional bond with parents in childhood create a foundation for healthy relationships and emotional regulation throughout the life. The take-home message is that happiness to a significant degree is a choice. We can intentionally cultivate our mindsets by practicing gratitude, kindness, and compassion. We should love everything and everyone in life. Maintain meaningful relationships, engage in religion and spirituality, and also realize happiness is our nature of being, and cultivate the inner peace. Last but not least, remember, you are responsible for your own happiness, not your spouse, not your children, not your friends or co-workers. And also that Happiness is not a destination, but a way of traveling through the life, moment by moment, and choice by choice. Thank you for your attention.
非常感谢，曹医生给我们带来的这个讲座，就是讲了这个什么是快乐以及怎么获得快乐。然后现在我们来进行到讨论环节，大家要是有什么问题，也可以直接unmute，然后来问曹医生。然后我现在看到我们的这个 Q&A board 上面是有一个用户问的问题是：Steve Jobs had a great purpose and determinations. But you think，这位用户您还在吗？这位观众，就是您可以自己问一下，就是您这个问题，呃还有一个 human as compared to what，就是您指的这个是哪个问题？刚才在这个 Q&A board 上，问问题的这个观众，您还在吗？嗯，看来好像不在。
我猜他的问题可能是这样的，就说 Steve Jobs 他是一个有 determination，他有 purpose of life，他是非常 self-driven 的一个人，可是他应该是在按照现在的这个 life span 来说，他是过早的离世了。可能我猜啊，这个朋友可能是想问一下，要曹医生 comment 一下，就是那么为什么他还短寿了呢？您说这个 happiness 跟这个 purpose of life 有关系，可是在他的身上好像就没有体现这个您说的这个理论。我想大概是问这个问题。
So happiness is determined by many factors. Driving and purpose is one of them. We don't know his state of mind, whether he is a very anxious whether he's a very anxious person, whether he has low self-esteem, whether he's emotionally mature or not. So all those factors we don't know about it. So there's no way to comment why he died early than other people. And also many studies have shown that the people are in the higher successful group, the people in the higher successful group, they tend to have more anxiety, they have high expectations, and frequently they're unhappy. So, and driving successful doesn't mean that you're actually happy and you're healthy.
谢谢您的回答。那个 Steve Jobs 是个 perfectionist。
好，那我们下面是燕霞的问题是：How do you define happiness genes？
Happiness genes are the genes that regulate the neurotransmitters that affect the emotional status. So, and the study have showed, we mentioned that the dopamine and serotonin are the one contributed to our happiness. So the genes regulating those neurotransmitters are considered to be genes that regulate our ability or regulate our level of happiness.
好，非常好。然后，大家还可以踊跃的来问一下问题哦。我现在看到还有一个问题是，李晴问的，就是 What is your impression of deservingness and family commitment on the happiness？
Everybody deserve happiness.
我想问一个问题啊，就是关于孩子们的情感的快乐的培养，除了学校啊或者宗教方面，那么像北美华人语学会有没有专门有这样的机构，或者可以从 NGO 这样的组织去得到帮助？当然，主要还是教育家长。我是在大陆的一个听者，想问一下。
I don't know anything about your 北美华人协会 that what they do to the children, but I think that our Chinese culture, like I mentioned before, that we frequently neglect our children's emotional status, and the majority of parents are mainly focused on their academic achievement. Think about this. If someone asks you, how your children doing? What comes to your mind? First you would say, yes, he got A, he won the competitions, and he's got into the top universities. How many of you actually think that are they happy? How happy they are? So that's the problems, and that's why Asian students in college and has this typical stereotypical impression is that they are quiet and they have a low self-esteem and they are not confident about themselves, and so all those trend of personality actually come from how the parents interact with them.
这个问题非常好。然后这个来自大陆的这位朋友，就这位观众，您还在吗？
我还在，我就想问一下，这样的孩子有时候在学校压力很大嘛，很难得到更多的学校以外或者家庭一般也是老人照顾，没有这种太多的机会，所以像你们这样的讲座，其内容是很好的。那么一方面，你们因为都是英文非常好的讲座。有些内容，很多人不一定能听懂，但它的 key point 或者有一些你们做的一些措施啊，或者一些途径去解决这些问题，是不是可以进入在网上你们不断的有些信息给展示出来？因为一般的真正要通过这么一个讲座得到最主要的要点是有一定的难度的。所以我就希望今后能够持续，你们很多讲座好像保留在这个网上，但是有一些比较经典的 key point 这些观点和途径，是不是也可以进一步的放在里头？也许我没太去关注，以后会进一步去关注的。谢谢了。
您的提议非常好，然后我们会采纳您的提议，然后后面也会看看怎么就是更方便或者是更好的来总结一下 key points，然后也搁在网站上。非常感谢您，
谢谢了。
谢谢。然后我们回到刚才这个问题，就是我看到李晴您在，您可以继续问我们曹医生。
谢谢邀请。曹医生很感激有这个机会向您学习这个这么重要的话题，尤其对亚裔十分重要。那我问这个问题的初衷，What's your impression of deservingness and family commitment on happiness？问这个问题的初衷是因为我自己呢，就是在广州是 做妇产科医生，然后在美国学的是妇幼卫生学，公共卫生博士。那我的博士论文是关于亲密伴侣之间的暴力在怀孕期的，那是美国的数据。那现在我把这个内容联系到，就是美国围产期的谋杀和自杀这一类的结局。那么在我就是学习 family psychology 他们这个领域，他们这个 commitment concept 就是说，就是 dating relationship 的时候可能没有形成 commitment， 但是在配偶家里，这个 commitment concept 它是十分重要。他讲的一个概念就是说，这两个人在一个家庭关系里头，夫妻的关系里头，他们总是想到他们的未来和他们的两个人共同的这个利益。所以我发现这个概念呢，家庭心理学的专家们他们在进行一群一群的这样的这个培训，或者是一对一，就像医生看病人一样的一对一的咨询里头，非常重视这个概念，就是去帮助夫妻里这个关系里，甚至是婚外的没有只是同居关系的人，去认识这个概念，去在日常的互动里头，能够去朝着这样一个目标去做 for us for future。那这里它创造的是一个家庭的 happiness， 它是家庭的稳定和和谐的发展。所以我就是这个原因就是提到这个 family commitment。那就是同居关系没有这样更强的 family commitment 的时候，多数容易出现离婚、家庭暴力、家庭的矛盾和stress。那我就是这是一个方面，我想也请那个曹医生您介绍一下您的想法。
In my opinion, the relationship is a two-way street. So one person cannot force the other person to do what she wants him to do. So I don't like the term commitment personally. So yes, so there's you can't force you to do something that you don't want to do. You can't do anything that are not for your benefit. So if the relationship doesn't make you happy, if the other person that is not a person that would provide a suitable environment for your own growth, and this relationship should not be continued. And I would not encourage someone to commit just because there is a relationship, then you have to force yourself to do something that make you unhappy. So, and your happiness is the most important thing, because if you're not unhappy, no one in the family would be happy. So the most important thing that you can do for yourself is to be happy. So, and if other people's action, other people's role in your life that is disruptive and is not beneficial, then you would not need to commit to this relationship.
Yeah, that's right. A wise decision is important. Understand the origin of the happiness. Understand the influence of the happiness. Thank you for sharing these thoughts. I think I want to say, I hope the Asian American community can secure more resource for training, for education. So this Tuesday, July 28th, was the due date for administration of Children's and Families Healthy Marriage and Responsible Fatherhood Program. So this year, in 2025, there are $110 million for open competition for those funding, and also including healthy young adults development. This is the federal funding for encourage nonprofit or academic to support, to train each individual and each family to have access to those already available education. Those education is outside medical field. It's available in family science, psychology, and marriage couple therapy. So I hope those resources could be useful. I hope more funding, more grant proposal can be submitted and secured for us to use this federal resource to benefit underserved communities in Asian Americans.
非常感谢您的 sharing， 非常感谢Dr. 曹的回答。我们下面
Thank you.
进行到下一个问题，来自陆云的问题 ：How to create an happy, nurturing environment for positive kids' mental development? Sorry.
That's what I mentioned before. That so first, the foremost important thing is that to show them that you love them unconditionally. This is very important. The love unconditionally. So a lot of our parenting are conditional. If you do the chores and then and you'll be rewarded because you'll be loved. But if you behave badly and the parents would punish you and then make children feel that they're not worth of love. So for a family that to bring up the healthy, mentally healthy children, very important is that let them know you love them no matter what.
好，非常感谢曹医生。我们下一个问题，因为时间有限，所以我们就快速进入下一个问题，就是来自 Carol 提问 ：Please talk about relationship between consciousness and happiness. How much does science know about consciousness now?
Consciousness, there's a lot of there are a lot of study going on, but we still don't know much about the consciousness. There are different theories about the consciousness. One of the theories is that the consciousness is not produced from the brain. The brain is a only receiver or a modulator. I did a talk some time ago in Virginia Beach about the near-death experiences. So people experiencing near-death experiences that they are clinically dead, but their consciousness still exists. So, and there's a lot of work on the consciousness, whether the consciousness is what we think that your brain produced or not. When you ask about the consciousness and the happiness, so I think you meant about the thinking and the happiness. So the thought is a consciousness, and the decision is a type of consciousness. So for someone to be happy, first you have to think positively. If you're dwelling on the bad things and there's something wrong with their life, and all those negative thoughts, it's going to affect your ability to feel happy. So the thought lead to emotions. Whenever you're upset, whenever you're sad, you can think that something lead to the emotion. Typically, it's a thought. I'm not good enough, or somebody said something to me, making me upset, or there's something that did not come as what I expected. And then those thoughts, unhappy thoughts, and lead to unhappy emotions. So for us to be happy is to always conscious about what you're thinking.
And the next question is from Chun Xiao. Can you elaborate the relationship between happiness and success?
Happiness does not equal to success. And actually, many success people are unhappy. So it is probably affected by multi-factors. People who are successful, they are typically very driven. They push themselves very hard, and they usually are perfectionists. So they would do anything they can to achieve. But by pushing themselves very hard, set very high expectations, and frequently there's people that because they always have something else, some goal to achieve, so they usually never satisfied with their lives. So success and is definitely not equal to the happiness.
And also from Chun Xiao, so how can we raise up our Asian second generation to a happy and successful adult, not just successful adults?
That's what I mentioned, that provide the environment that to show them that you love them unconditionally, and stop compare with other kids. Our Asian parents, there were some ones that went to a Chinese school with my children, and there's a mother was with his son sitting beside me. That is in between the classes. And the entire 20 minutes, the mother just constantly bickering and belittling this little boys, and talk about how other people are successful and they are how other people are better than him. This is a very common scenario with the Asian parents. We have to stop doing that. So that is a very detrimental way to ruin our children's emotional health.
Yes. OK，非常感谢曹医生啊。然后我们有一个来自 Carol 的一个follow up question，就是 Please talk about the relationship between happiness and the neurotransmitters or hormones.
So like I mentioned before, there are 4 main neurotransmitters that are related to the emotions and the happiness. So different neurotransmitters play a different role in the happiness. So I don't want to repeat what I already mentioned of each neurotransmitters. I don't know if you can go back to my early speech or early slides, and then you can read about what I've talked about the neurotransmitters and the emotional status.
对，然后曹医生之前是有一个 slides 讲了neurotransmitters 和 hormone，就是分别讲了每一个 neurotransmitters。然后我们也这个视频也会回放，就是放在我们的这个官方网站上以及 YouTube 上。如果您有相关问题，也可以再看一下回放。非常感谢您的问题。好，那我们现在Carol 又问了一个 follow up questions。 is happiness mainly determined by neurotransmitters or by consciousness?
So like I mentioned before, 50% of our happiness is determined by our actions, our thought. So that's the part that we have control of.
OK，好，那我们今天时间也差不多了，然后也接近1个小时了，然后现在我们也没有问题了，非常感谢大家的参与和讨论，非常精彩，也非常感谢曹医生给我们带来的这个讲座，是个非常有意义的一个命题我也希望大家可以回去想一想自己的快乐的来源，以及生活中有哪些可以做的一些改变，非常感谢大家。
好，谢谢。